question is, thank you. What is one word that describes you? I'm seeing answers. I'm seeing dynamic, funny, curious, amenable, dimeji. I don't know what the language that is. Wild, nurturing, resilience, driven, ambitious, determined, inventor. I like that word. White, curious. Okay, we should have at least 50 words in here, unless we're putting in the same word. I actually think the word that's put in many times is magnified. So a lot of people probably put ambitious. Somebody put the name of their company. Yeah. The thing with entrepreneurs, you start being identified with your company. So they say Albert Vuba Vuba. So that is good. Someone put sexy. That's acceptable. Enthusiast. Green. All right. Vavavoom. Okay, some of these are funny. Thank you, guys. Amazing. I love these. Okay, so let's attempt to go to the next question. I hope technology will allow me to do that. Let me see how this works. Okay, how do you say hero in your language? Is Mentimeter allowing you to go to the next question? Yes. Okay, let me see. Shuja, Mzito, Batal, Inhuari. Okay, I'm probably going to butcher some of this pronunciation. I can't read the characters. So maybe someone can read that for us. Dozier, Jaba, Akoni, Olubala, Mogaka. Do let me know in the chat if I'm pronouncing it wrongly. Bingwa, I like that. Hero. Michael, how do you read that?
英雄，英雄。
Okay. Thanks for that. I'm also seeing some Arabic. Maybe someone who put the Arabic there can read that for us. Okay.
That is
Yeah, it's
bottle.
bottle. Yeah.
Okay. How do you pronounce that?
It's already written in bottle, like
Oh,
under
batal.
shisha.
Okay.
Yeah,
Batal.
exactly.
Oh, I see.
It's written in Arabic as well.
Okay. Okay. I see. No, thanks for that. Thanks, everyone. I think this really shows our diversity of languages, of backgrounds. I'm seeing Hero as well. Some people are, English speakers. Senatla. Thank you. Thank you. All right. One more. What is most important to you about today's bootcamp? So for this one, it's ranking these 4 priorities in order of importance to you. Of all these things that we are suggesting, networking with other top 50 heroes, getting ready for upcoming round 2 interviews, learning from past heroes and judges, training on how to maximize the top 50 opportunity, which one is most important to you? So we can start ranking them in order and see, for most people in here, what's important to you. And we can make sure that we focus on that. Okay, so it keeps shifting. So maybe the more votes we get, the more we will know. But I'm seeing a lot on training on how to maximize the top 50 opportunity, getting ready for the upcoming round 2 interviews. Okay, learning from past heroes and judges, networking with other top 50 heroes. Okay. If you are yet to put in your answer, could you please take a few minutes to do that? But this is good. It's good to know. It's good to know what your expectations are, what you want to get out of this boot camp. It's so interesting how these two keep, replacing each other. getting ready for the upcoming round 2 interviews, and then training on how to maximize the top 50 opportunity. That's very good. All right, so I'll take it that everybody has put in their answer. Thanks for that. This is well noted and well taken. And then this is another fun one. Name an African figure that you truly find inspirational. It can be a politician, it can be a musician, it can be a Dessina. I think I know a Dessina. Let me see actually how many I can identify. Nelson Mandela, Burna Boy. Nelson Mandela is getting some votes. Jack Ma, Wangari Maathai, Paul Kagame, Serena Williams, Mohamed Salah, Mensa of Mali. Nice. Some of these are past figures, some of these are present figures. Raila Odinga, Nnamdi Azikiwe, very interesting. Kwame Nkrumah, Bourguiba, I don't know this one. Tony Elumelu, of course. Jamal Abdul Nasser. If I had time, I would ask you about all these characters, but thank you so much for sharing them. Nancy Wanjiku. Very good, very good. Then I have a last one. This one is more of not a riddle, but it's a general knowledge question. So let's see if people can guess this one. Bonus question. What 2 African capital cities share the same name in English and French? I think, the moment people put it there, I guess the first one will be Kigali and Abidjan. Come on, guys. Tunis, Rabat, no, that's not true. So these 2 cities, it's the same name. The only difference is that one is in English, another one is in French. So no one has gotten it yet. Dakar, Lagos, no, that's not correct. Dakar, Monrovia, no idea. Nairobi, Monrovia, nope. Okay, so this one I guess deserves a prize. Brazzaville, no. Okay, someone put it in, but let me not say what it is until people confirm. Who feels confident about their answer? Let me check the chat. Okay. Pauline, do you want to tell us what it is? You can unmute.
Côte d'Ivoire?
No. All right, so since both names have been put in the, someone says, tell us. I will, I'm going to. Let me see if both names have actually been put there, and then Albert did. Yay, thank you, Albert, you did well. Yes, so the 2 capital cities are Freetown and Libreville. If you speak French, Libreville and Freetown, they're basically the same thing. So Libreville is the capital city of Gabon, and Freetown is the capital city of Sierra Leone. So there are 2 African countries. Their capital cities, they are the same thing, but in different languages. So next time, I think we'll get that one. All right, we are done with the icebreaker. Thanks for participating. I hope this was fun. It was very good to, record what your expectation for the day are. Get to know each other a little bit, the words that describe you, the people that you find inspirational. So I hope you've really enjoyed this. I'd like to pass it on to Michael to lead us into the next session, which is the introduction of ABH. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anise. It was a very interesting icebreaker. I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot. Thank you. All right, so before I get into the introduction, allow me to show a video that's actually telling us why Jack Ma founding this initiative. a few years ago. So let's watch the video.
First trip to Africa, my impressions are wow, it's a land full of hope. Everywhere in the world, entrepreneurs are the same. They have hopes, they have dreams, they're never afraid of something they want to create. But I did not expect in Africa there are so many of them. I met them. When I see their eyes, when I talk to them, it looks like me 20 years ago. And I think this is a real entrepreneur. They believe in what they think, they believe what they're doing, and they want to make this thing big because they can help more people. This is the hope of Africa. If we can enable the entrepreneurs there, they may change Africa. I realize that I have to do something. The entrepreneurs, I think we should make them the heroes. They are brave, the team together to fight for the future. If the heroes succeed, a lot of people want to be heroes. Is giving the inspiration, the courage to all the entrepreneurs in Africa. We're not only interested in one part of Africa, we're on the whole continent. This award is for all industries in Africa, to all men, all women, different ages. This is for Africa entrepreneurs. I remember like 10 years ago, I made a program in China on the television, encouraging the entrepreneurs in China how to do startups and how to do that. Very successful. So I think if I can do the same thing in Africa, I may be able to help. I want to make this show very educational, very fun, and I want in the show to teach people how to do business. When I see the entrepreneurs in Africa, I wish I was born in Africa today, that I can start my journey again next 20 years. So now, my age, the only thing I can do is support a lot of entrepreneurs in Africa. They can start their dream. They can start their journey and change the continent. This is how I want to do. This is my own passion.
So I hope you enjoy the video. So at the end, Jack also mentioned this is his own passion, but I think his passion is infectious, right? So this has becomes my passion, and this is becoming my team's passion, and this becoming, the judges, all the judges joining the round 1, round 2 for the last few years, their passions, and then becomes our heroes' passions. All the applicants, 27,000 applicants applied this year, and also 100,000 applicants applied in the last few years. So it becomes their passions. I think this is very important, and then this is why we do what we do. And he also mentioned about the show, the competition, and becoming a community. So these are the figures that for the last few years that we started from scratch with the support, with our heroes, with our partners, with our judges. So building this Pan-African community. I would say global community because our judges are from 170 countries around the world, and then they through this platform get to know Africa better and get to know African entrepreneur better. So that is basically what we do. Pitch competition. So every year we do this competition. We recruit applicants from all over the continents. And then we offer 1.5 million in grand prize funding to the top 10 winners. In 10 years, we will identify top 100 heroes across the whole continent. And show, we try different ways to tell the stories. We did documentary, we did reality challenge before, and then we also are doing some short videos to tell hero story to inspire more people. And this community is growing. Now we are having 130,000, people, entrepreneurs in this community. So I think this community will go stronger and stronger. Next slide, please. So for this year's application, I think most of you may already know from our social media post that we got some record high numbers. In terms of application, we got 27,000 applications from all 54 countries. And North Africa and Central Africa, we also had a record high percentage, which is 11% and 9% respectively. And we also got a record high in female application, 34%. And we only spent 2 weeks to cover the entire continent, all 54 countries. And last but not least, our French application, we're also, getting the highest number ever, 27% in terms of French application. Next, please. So this is the statistic of our top 50 heroes this year. As you can see, is quite evenly distributed. We have 40% West African, 16% North, 28% East, 12% South, and 4% Central. So in terms of female and male ratio, 36% and 64%. Very diverse group in terms of industry, agriculture, education, healthcare, and in terms of countries, there are 20 countries covered. Average age is 36. So it's very, very diverse cohort. Next, please. All right, so we're getting into the meat of it. So I heard that, from the icebreaker, I think most of you really want to know what's next, how to better prepare for the round 2. So the next few slides we'll be talking about that. So we are actually at the midway of the competition. So you guys, already, make it to the top 50 out of 27,000 applications. So you guys are already heroes. That's why we call you guys top 50 heroes. So because the application itself, if you guys remember, is very tedious, very, rigorous. So a lot of people, they gave up midway. So they didn't even complete the application. So whoever complete the application, and then they need to go through a systematic kind of screening process, by our system provider. Ben just introduced himself. He created a very good system to helping us to, screening out, the applications that we go through to the round 1. So for the round 1, we have around 250 judges from 44 countries around the world, and then they spend about 3 weeks time to judge. So each application was judged by 3 judges. So we take the average of 3 scores and then rank our top 50. So our top 50 will then go through to the round 2. So the round 2 basically is a video Zoom call interview for 1.5 hours. One thing I would have pointed out this year is a little bit different than last year and also previous years, that we have 3 judges. We have 3 judges interview 1 candidate. 3 judges interview 1 candidate instead of 2 judges. So it will be harder. A lot of different perspective. You need to appreciate you need to impress, one more judge, basically. And then throughout this 1.5 hour assessment interview, and then you have to do a pitch, 5-minute pitch. And then it will be followed by 60 minutes Q&A section, especially deep dive into your financials and business model. And then the judges will give you feedback. And then we will invite you to leave the call, and they will go do a debrief with our facilitator. So for you, it's only 1.5 minutes, 1.5 hour journey. But I know there's a lot of preparation you have done. But for us, it will be 50 interviews we have to conduct, and with 150, judging. So we expect that you would accept the time that we offer for the interview. So every change, that means we need to make a lot of changes. That's something that we ask you to understand. Some of that is really difficult for us. So after that, we will, based on their scores, again, to decide the top 20. So for all the top 20, we'll go through PwC, the due diligence process arranged by PwC. It's all going to be an offline process. So PwC will send their auditing team to your factory, to your company, to your business, to do the audit, interview people, and look at the documentations. Then they will create a report. We will, based on the report, then decide whether we can invite, the top 20 to the semifinal pitch. So for the semifinal pitch this year, it's going to be offline. It's going to be in Kigali on the 1st and 2nd of September. So each pitch, as you can imagine, so we have to do 20 pitches in just 1.5 days. So it's going to be packed. And there will be around 5 judges will be pitching, will be interviewing 20 candidates face to face. So everybody will have only 30 minutes to do the pitch and Q&A. So, and then they will decide who are the top 10. So for the top 10, they will get the money already, but the top 3 will be decided by the end of November, 23rd and 24th of November, and during the grand finale. And this year, we're hoping, Jack will be back, and then, we're hoping Strive, Joe, and also Ibukuna Wasika, those our former, finale judge since 2019, the beginning of ABH, will be a full team, back in Kigali, and then doing this finale, finale event. So, but please help to keep this for yourself. We're still confirming. So, but we are confident, we can get, the dream team of our judges back this year. So for the overview of interview, the objective of round 2 interviews. First, this slide actually is the same slide that we share with the judges. So, so basically, you guys getting the same information. So to avoid any, misunderstanding. First, we're going to, ask the judges to deep dive and further understanding you as a business owner and your business and its potential. Second, we gain further clarification, on your answers that you provide in your written application. And third, also, all our judges, they are with over 15 or even 20 years, professional experience as an entrepreneur, as an investor, as a professional. So they will identify any loopholes, red flags, but as well as some promising potentials. And last but not least, I think it's very beneficial to yourself is to receive advice and feedback from the judges, that for this year you will have the chance to receive free, at least feedback from free judges. I think it's going to be really helpful for you to grow your business further. For the interview logistics, is a Zoom call interview, and then free judges, one ABH facilitator, and one finalist. In terms of timing, it's 1 hour and 30 minutes, including judges debrief. And then the timeline is from 29th June to 17th of July. 29th June to 17th of July. So these are the criteria. Again, this slide is the same thing that we communicated with the judges. These are the few things that we look at, which is the same thing, same sections that you fill in the application form. Problem need, what kind of problem you're tackling, what type of need you are tackling with your customer, and then what kind of solution that your business is providing to solve such problem, and then what kind of market traction you already have created, your financial and revenue model, your team, your future growth plans. Last but not least, we will look at not only your business, but also yourself as a founder, whether you can be entitled as a hero, which is, your characteristic, your nature is fit to ABH. Some key guidelines, for the interview. So I recommend you guys to join 5 minutes before the interview, and then you will be able to receive the interview details in the next 2 days. So by email, and then we will also create a WhatsApp group. We'll send you the detail individually, but by email is the former channel. So we will remind you by WhatsApp as well. And please join the Zoom call 5 minutes before the interview. And then the facilitator will spend 2 minutes to kind of, do an introduction on the flow. And then you will start the pitching. So in your pitch, there are 2 things, we also let the judges know is mandatory, is 1-pager business model. Is 1 page to explain how do you make money. And second is your updated financials. We understand, it was in March to May. It was like a while ago, before, when you submitted your financials, it might be outdated. It might be you are not really serious that time. But now it's time to get serious, because you are, in a very strong cohort, and then you are at a, midway of the competition. So it's time to getting more serious. So anything that is not correct, is not accurate, it's the time, for you to put an accurate number on your financials, because the judges will ask for it. And then they will spend 40 to 45 minutes to do the Q&A on different business aspects. And we advise them to put 15 to 20 minutes on the deep dive on the financials. So financials are very important in this stage. After the Q&A, so we recommend the judges to spend some time to give you feedback and advice. And before we invite you guys to leave the call, after that, we will have a debrief with the facilitator and the judges with your absence. I want to pause here So in case you have any burning questions, you know, if I can answer them, because I know this is the main objective you joining this call. So I want to you know, answer your questions timely.
Yeah, there was someone who had raised their hand. I don't know if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question out loud. And others can put it in the chat as well. I think it was Lofty.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. In fact, I already asked the question on the WhatsApp chat. As you may know, in all Muslim countries, it's a holiday week because of Eid al-Adha, and all my financials, and it can't be that accurate without having access. You take in consideration this the fact that there is a holiday in Muslim countries, or can we postpone this for example, next week, or isn't it possible? And thank you.
Hey, thanks, Lottie. Is it Lottie? Yeah, Luffy. Sorry. Yeah, thanks, Luffy. So I think you raise a very good point. So we do expect, you know, you guys to have financials. You know, the team can extend the deadline by tomorrow. You know, 20 is 11:55 GMT. So that is the final deadline for you guys to, you know, submit the financials. But of course, you know, when you do the pitch, and we don't know when it is it yet, because we're still doing the matching, so we will be able to send out tomorrow or the day after that. You still have splaying by tomorrow GMT, but you can still change you know, by the time that you're doing the interview, but you need to explain to the judge why. Yes, please shut it.
Okay, so
I think
this
those
was
are important
now.
questions. Yeah.
Yes, so thank you very much. My name is Malaku Balai from Ethiopia. I have a limit of language, and to explain my opinion, it's possible to have assistance with me here.
Is it possible, sorry, to have what?
Translator, and for my opinion when I have interview, my English limits and to explain my opinion. And can I have help here with me? Can I have that person?
You can have someone to help you, but in my opinion, your English is very good.
Yeah, it's me. I don't feel really to bring out what I do in a home language. So that's what I mean.
Okay.
It's possible.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, but bear in mind that if you have a translator, that means, you know, your pitch will be substantially shorter, and then the amount of information you can deliver will be less. So that's something you need to bear in mind.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi, Sunday.
In the group, it's not for the issue of language, but it's more of a confidence over explaining technical terms regards to financials and all that. Is that something that would require more than very strong?
Really, I say, you know, the translator is allowed it because it's, you know, you can understand there's a language issue. So I think that's understandable. But you know, based on our experience for the last 4 years, only applicants, you know, could be you know, explaining, you know, the technical terms or financial terms. So yeah, please understand that. Iman.
Hi, sorry, Michael, I'm going to jump in. So some of our speakers have a hard stop, and I'm seeing a lot of hands and some questions in the chat. if people don't mind, because we are here, for the next 2 hours and 10 minutes, you can reserve your questions or note them down. And we have this next session, and then, I'll be sure to invite everybody in who has questions about the interview, the logistics of it, because it sounds like it's an important part of this boot camp. So we'll make sure that all the questions are answered. But for now, if you may allow me to just go to the next session, would that be fine?
Can I take like one more? Yeah, because I know it's important to them. So please.
Okay.
Your business model.
Yes,
can we put it in one slide? I mean, the expectation here is one slide that you explain, or something more?
Just one slide.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, we'll come back to this. I'll invite Michael back on stage, and then we can just go through those questions one more time. But for now, I didn't want one of our speakers to leave before we hear from her. So we can just jump into that session. So today we have, the pleasure of having two of our past heroes in the room. We have Kevin Kajirimhundu, who's our 2019 Top 10 hero. And we also have Dr. Tosan, who's also our 2019 Top 10 hero. So we hear from people who have gone through this process before. Before you do anything, it always seems, like a mystery, but it's always very helpful, to hear from people who have done it and are on the other side of it now. So on that note, without further ado, Kevin and Dr. Tosan, can you hear me?
Hi, Anizi. I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good to see you, Kevin. Dr. Tosan, are you here as well?
Hello, Anisi. I can hear you. I'm here.
Fantastic. So I will stop sharing and just spotlight the two of you and let you have, an interaction. We are doing a fishbowl method where you pick a question from the fishbowl, ask the question out loud, and the two of you can have a stab at it. So I'll let the two of you take it from here. Kevin and Dr. Tosan, as soon as you're ready, just go for it.
I think Kevin should go first.
Oh, Anizi, could you explain again how it's going to work?
No. So you pick a question, you read it out loud, you answer it yourself, and Dr. Tosan as well. And
I see.
Yeah, so it's just to read it for the two of you, but the both of you get to answer it.
Awesome. So the first question is, when you learned that you were part of the top 50, what was your reaction? To say you could go first by answering this.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. So yeah, it was very exciting. I mean, we were a small startup in northwestern Nigeria, rural northwestern Nigeria, and we had been doing our work for some time, and it was a huge boost to be in the top 50. It was a very strong cohort, the top 50 of the 2019 session, and it was nice. My judges at the time were very tough, formidable people that I'd heard of and I'd read about in the news for years. It was an honor to meet them.
On my side, yes, same thing. We're just a small company called Uzuri KNY, somewhere in the not far from Kigali, and we were just behind the scenes doing the work. And I would say that honestly, ABH founders, when we applied, it was more of, oh, we're not a tech company, we're not e-commerce, we're just a shoe company that is recycling and repurposing used car tires. So we thought we didn't stand a chance at all. And when we met to the top 50, I was really shocked, and I didn't think that we would make past the top 50 anyways. So we kept it a secret, to be honest. We didn't tell anyone because we thought we wouldn't make it to top 20. At the time, we had top 20. But really, it was exciting internally because it was just a sign that people are watching whatever we're doing. And yeah, it's really an internal boost for my team and myself.
Awesome. Let me ask the question next. So Kevin, what was your experience in the round two judging session? And with what did you prepare to do? And did any of the questions that the judges asked, they catch you off guard?
My experience in round two was really interesting because one thing that really caught me off guard was that the judges really gave me time to explain my business. It was just like everyone is genuinely looking to understand you as an entrepreneur and your business. And I had never had that before. So, and I guess that's why ABH is great and the judges are just amazing in the top 20. So they gave me time to explain my business, even if I had a very short time to, not even short, it was around 10 minutes to actually pitch. After that, they asked me questions with an intention, an intent to actually get to know who I am and what we do and who else is involved. So I went in very nervous because it was the first time. All of us were very nervous. It was the very first time. And in at least on the 15th minute, I was just very confident and answering the questions genuinely and being myself. What did I do to prepare? I did rehearse. It was my first time on stage ever as an entrepreneur to pitch my business. So I did rehearse. I did work on my pitch deck a little bit better, and made sure that it made sense to my team. Made sure that it made sense to a few of the strangers or a few of people that are around who are not necessarily part of the Suri team. Because sometimes we do, personally, I do things and I think, wow, that sounds great, and someone else would actually give you, I don't know, an advice that on something that you didn't think about. So it was really important for us to pitch to other people before we can pitch to the top 20 judges.
Awesome.
Okay, the next question.
Yeah.
Is it you? I think I have to say the next question.
Please go ahead.
Oh, great. How did you leverage the announcement of the top 50 to your business advantage?
So that's an interesting question because our project was primarily a public health intervention, and my background is in public health, medicine, community health, and so I was coming at our intervention in just that way. It was just a series of studies and exploratory efforts to improve immunization in northern Nigeria. And so it came as a serious surprise when we found out that we were being evaluated as a hardcore tech company. And I think that rhymes with your own experience too. So that was one thing for us. And then a couple of things too that came out of it. One of my judges from the top 50 ended up making a recommendation to my government on my behalf. That was something that came out of the top 50 engagement that I never planned for. So, you know, and then we started getting feedback from people and realized that the work we were doing wasn't so obscure after all. And then in conclusion, without the ABH recognition, we would probably be a footnote in some study, buried in some report somewhere. So it was a huge impact being in the top 50 and subsequently going on to be in the top 10. Thank you.
Okay, next question. Thanks, Tusa. Tusa, do you want to take the next question as well?
Yes, please. Okay. How has your business grown since ABH, since you won or came?
Okay, great. So when we joined ABH, we're pretty much less than $500,000 in revenue, and we have been able to grow 10 times since then. And after that, it was more of a way for us to tell a story because we had done so much work in the background that was not told as a story. So the platform that ABH actually provided for us, honestly, was scary. If you have time to watch the first, I've never watched it. If you have time to watch it, go ahead and watch the first show. It was just like terrifying to stand in front of people but the outcome of it all is that people were watching, and not just people, just important people. One of our very first, when we started raising our seed round, one of our very first investors were actually, they reached out through email and just say that we saw you pitching in the top 50, of course. And it was just a platform that helped us to tell our story. And still, until today, people are still watching the show. People are still coming around telling us how inspired they were by our story. And it is important for us to continue building up on that leverage. Our business is visible across the globe right now because of the ABH top being part of the top 10. On top of that, really the group of entrepreneurs that we're part of is so interesting because we help each other. Some of them will become advisors. We have been able to build a board of advisory, a board of directors right after, created a wonderful team, and most of it really came from the advice and information that we got from the network. That, and up to date, we're actually still leveraging the community. I think we have exhausted how much we can get from ABH so far, but we'll keep coming, Michael. Tusa, I think the next question is, oh, I think that's it.
No, I think there's one more question. I think there's one more question. What else would you share with our top 50 heroes that could prepare them for the journey ahead?
Oh, cool. Could you go ahead and answer that first, and then I'll go ahead and answer next.
All right. Okay. So I think it's important to really grok or understand why you do what you do. Because first of all, there will be a tsunami of publicity. Suddenly a spotlight will be shown on your corner of the world. And following the ABH exposure, which was incredible for us, by the way, there were so many offers. And the thing we really needed to learn was how to say no in a good way. And really for Africa, in Africa as an African, we are in a business, but I think it's much more than the bottom line. Exposure that's going to follow, you're going to have to say no more often. And that's something you have to psychologically prepare for, because it can be tough. That's one thing. Kevin, you go ahead if you have anything to add.
I think mine is pretty easy. I think they mentioned due diligence from audits from really institutions that are really high, and you have to be ready in the background. Like you can't say things that are not happening. And also you have to be honest throughout the process. It's very important for you to present exactly what you're doing. Of course, you need to tell a story, but at the end of the day, if what you're saying is not correct, and PwC come in and find some of the things are not in line, it will be not beneficial for you and for ABH as well. So it would be wonderful if you went back from now, I don't know how many days you have, and just work with your team to make sure that everything is in order. I feel like now standards are a little bit higher, so it will be important for you to do the work, the hard work, like one of our judges like to say.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks to the both of you. I think we can stop it here. Kevin, are you still with us? Do we have like?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Sure. I can go ahead. Did you want me to ask the judges a few questions?
Not yet, but actually we have a question from one of our judges, Isaac, for you guys. Isaac, do you want to come in and ask your question out loud? I know you put it in the chat, but it would be good if you ask it as a judge to our two heroes. I don't know if you judge any of them, but Isaac has a few questions for you guys.
Thanks, Anissa. I don't judge any of the question for you guys, and this is more like a cheat sheet for us as judges, right? As we go into like this next round, and the first one would be, if you were a judge, right, what question would you ask in one of the applicants in round 2 session? And second one would be, you know, judges that are not familiar with your industry or the market that you play in, or even, you know, the country that you play in, right? Like, what's, you know, one liner would you say, tell them about like what you're doing, right? To
Anisi, if you could maybe.
Yeah, let me read it out loud. Yeah, so the two questions Isaac had asked in the chat is, the first one is, if you were the judge, what would you want to ask the candidate? And then what do you do if a judge who's on the panel, or all the judges are not familiar with your industry, or, you know, the market that you operate in even? What is a one liner you would use, you know, to familiarize them with your sector?
I think if I was a judge, the candidates would have to answer one question, which is, what is the problem you're solving? And I think the judges really are really good at asking this. And I would give it a little bit more time for the founder or the candidate to actually explain a little bit of what they're solving today and how it is impacting the community.
Okay, very good. How about you, Dr. Tosan?
I would ask why they were doing what they were doing, and why they were going at it the way they were doing. So it may be personal, but I found out that if you have to explain why, your narrative gets more cogent, more you know, relatable. And then regarding the question about the market, I mean, this is something that I always have to explain, right? I'll just tell them about Nigeria, and in my context, Nigeria's regression in eliminating polio was significant enough to set the entire world's progress back in eliminating polio. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So, you know, as a founder, you find that you're always thinking about what you're trying to do. And at some point, you probably have hooks and summaries or punchlines that help your narrative. So that's what I'll do.
Okay, thank
Great
you.
responses.
Oh, good. Isaac is satisfied. Kevin, do you want to take a stab at that one as well? If a judge is not familiar with your industry, what would you do? What do you recommend people do?
I'm so sorry. So I think then it will be my job to actually tell them a story of where we come from. And I think it's similar to Tucson. Then it will be my job to actually explain the business a little bit more, the industry itself, in the best way possible, and also make sure that it's in a very concise and precise way to explain the whole. And it might be that you're creating a whole industry, so don't be afraid to actually come up with the answers that are shocking and new and innovative.
All right, before I let you go, I see some questions in the chat from the top 50 heroes. So I'm going to ask the one I'm seeing. For the due diligence process, what kind of questions to staff do they ask? And which document do they request for? You want to quickly talk about that?
Yeah, I think that it was a whole day interview. Just be ready. It's hectic. Everyone is at the end of the interview, at the end of the due diligence. I don't know if now they're using more than one day, because for us it was very hectic because they had only one day to go through all documents, financials, operations, team, all possible data that you may have that could back up the existence of your business. Even if they're seeing your business exist, they can literally see the walls and people and all, but they really want to see what is what is exactly that you have put together in writing. So it was very hectic. So be ready, don't be annoyed, because they may ask you the same questions in different forms for 100 times. And honestly, they don't mean bad, they just want to find out. And some of the questions may be like not necessarily you may not have an answer for that, or you may have a negative answer for that, and that's okay, because that's why audits are done. They're done so that you can be able to look at what you have done and also learn from the past mistakes and move and do better in the future. And so there are questions that some of the due diligence questions or documents that were requested, and I would just give the documents and then I'll be like, I'm not gonna make the top 10 because this is a disaster. But when the report came back, it was just like, you have to understand, you have to do better. We're not asking you so that you can be the best. We're asking so that you can actually do better. So that was my experience so far. And I'm gonna have to jump off, Anizi. Thank you very much, and congratulations to everybody.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thanks for your time. Loved having you here. I hope people found this helpful. Thank you so much. Have a good one. All right, Dr. Tosan, I'll let you take a stab at that as well, and then we'll invite our judges to also share their inputs.
Oh, yeah.
What did they ask in the due diligence process?
Oh, right. It was very detailed. I don't remember the specific questioning, but it was extensive, and we were at it for about for at least 3 days of the week. And my startup was we play in a non-profit sector, and so they asked for extensive reports. It was like a colonoscopy, if I could use that metaphor. But you know, it
Okay, is he frozen or am I frozen? I think he is frozen.
I think he's frozen.
All right. Or you can hear him using, medical lingo to explain what happened during due diligence. I think that's a big takeaway. Due diligence process is like a colonoscopy. It's very intrusive, but for good purposes and for good reasons. Okay, so while Dr. Tosan regains his internet, we are just going to keep going because we have a packed schedule. We still have him on the call. So if you have specific questions for him, feel free to put them in the chat. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce our judges. Put them on screen first. So we have 2 judges. We have Alison Kingsley Hall, who's a round 2 judge and works for Invest Africa as the head of membership. And we also have Isaac Ewaleifo, who's also a round 2 judge and who's the vice president of BDT and MSD Partners. He was also at Goldman Sachs for about 12 years. So very experienced judges. And I'm going to be asking them a series of questions. Alison, I can see you on the call. I'm just checking to see if Isaac wasn't kicked out. He was here earlier, but probably got kicked out. Hi, Alison. Good afternoon.
Hi, Anisi.
Hello, how are you doing?
Yes, well, thank you. Lovely to be here.
Very good having you. Looks like Isaac got kicked out and he's rejoining, but I will just start with you. It's very good having you here because, you are the person on the other side of the table, asking and digging into our heroes, businesses, experiences. So I think your feedback is very critical, and I think everybody's really curious to hear what you have to say. So my first question to you is, as a round 2 judge, what are you looking for in candidates that is different from like the round 1, written application experience?
Thanks, Anisi. I think for me, it's a lot about the passion and about really sort of, seeing their passion come through from the candidate, and also really understanding their business better and seeing that they've got a really good understanding of their finances. Because I think that's one key area that can be a downfall. So those are 2 things that I'm really looking for.
Okay, thank you for that. So you want them to really bring about their personalities and passion that they can't.
I think so.
Yeah.
For me, that's what really stands out. What is driving you with your business? well. I think that for me is very important. And then the financial side of it, and having a realistic view of where your finances are going and where you see the business going, because sometimes that can be, you know, potentially over exaggerated or not really be clear. So that's an important side of it.
Okay. Thank you for that. And, you know, what pitfalls should candidates be aware of as they go through, you know, the round to interviewing process? Like from being on the panel, what mistakes have you seen, you know, candidates make in the past, or what things did people say that made you cringe? You know, we just want to hear all of that so that we avoid doing that during the interview process.
Perhaps one of the key things again is around the finances, and what Kevin said is just really making sure that they add up and that it's they are realistic and they really reflect what's happening in your business. So sometimes you start doing a bit of a deep dive into the finances and figures just don't add up, and it's awkward for the delegates or for the candidate, and it takes away from the strength of their pitch. So that for me is really important.
Okay. So make sure that you're not making things up. You would rather people say that maybe they need a second than, you know, making something up that they can't.
Absolutely. They'd come back on that point, or need some time to reflect on that, or yes. And things like, you know, the years of COVID and what impact that had on your business, for instance. We all know that, you know, many businesses struggled through that time. So we understand that it's being transparent about the business.
All right. Is there anything you would recommend the top 50 in the next few days? I mean, the interviews start on Thursday and they go on for the next 2 weeks. Is there anything you would recommend that they do in particular as they prepare for the round 2 interviews?
I think someone mentioned it earlier on. I think really, you know, showing your pitch, exposing your pitch to a range of different people in the run up to the judging, because you've got a clear idea of your own business, your family know your business, but then, you know, expand people that you show it to, get some good feedback from them, let them pick up on things that you may not have thought of yourself. So I think really open up who you're exposing it to in the run up to the judging. Because there's so many different, you know, the judges are coming with such different perspectives.
Yes.
So I think that would be useful for the candidates.
Okay. That's a very good tip. You know, preparing is always, you know, better than, you know, not, especially because in the beginning, the time is very limited. So making sure that that pitch is nailed down would be very helpful.
Exactly.
And then I know that, you know, as Michael was sharing with us earlier, you know, there's time for a financial deep dive. That section in particular is paid attention to during this, you know, round 2 process. Is there any particular tips? You know, what sort of numbers? You know, is it, you know, revenue? What are you digging deeper on that people should be able to articulate? Is it about, you know, profits? Is it projections? Yes. Do you want to share?
Good question. I think where I've seen problems is perhaps on the projections and it just not fitting in with previous trends in the business. So I think alignment with the projections, you know, being really realistic about expected income in the future is one of the things.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Do we have Isaac on the call or not yet? Isaac, are you with us? If not, I will give a chance to the top 50 heroes to ask questions. You know, you have a judge with you, you know, these are people who ask you the questions. So you wanted to get ready for round 2 interviews. So it'd be good to, you know, to ask Alison any question you might have while we still have, you know, her on the call. So let me check if I missed anything in the chat to see if we have any questions for you, Alison. 1 second. Okay. Okay, we have some serious specific questions, especially for people from Nigeria. 1 second. All right, I wanted to mute my background noise. Okay, so the first question is from Fumi. I will read it out loud, but Fumi, if you want to clarify, you feel free to come in. So it says, with the unification of Forex, many Nigerian startups have seen their revenue halved. Will this impact, let's say, them negatively during the interview process? Would the judge advise to report revenue in local currency, for example, Naira instead? So that's the first question.
Do you want me to answer it straight away?
Yeah, so let me actually go through that because most of them are really about the financials. So the other one is during the financial deep dive, will they need us to share our financial model? And then the other one is asking, the Naira to dollar has gone from 1 to 416 Naira to 700. So this means reporting revenue in dollar will be half of projection and less than previous years. So it's the same question, I think. And then Shahira said the Nigeria case is the same as Egypt. So a lot of people are being affected by the currency fluctuations. So if you can speak to that, that would be great.
I think those are really good points. So thank you to Funmi and the others who brought those up. I mean, I think anyone working in, working in any African markets are well aware of those problems with Forex and with the Naira and currency in Egypt. So yes, it will reflect, negatively, wrong word, but it won't look great in the financials, but there is a reason for it. And I think what's really important is for the candidate to just raise that point and point it out quite clearly, have the information to back up, the statistics and the figures around the change in the Naira and the currency issues, and then solutions or potential solutions going forward. So it's a problem that many people are facing, and we fully understand that. So I think it's just about highlighting it and showing that they are aware of it and that there's some, way of dealing with it in the future. And then, sorry, what was the question around the financial model?
So during the financial deep dive, will they need us to share our financial model? Like, is this something they should have on hand to show? Is that what you're asking, Eric? Or I'm trying to understand your question. Is it to explain your financial model, or you're asking if they will ask you to, let's say, share it in detail?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Yeah. I'm just asking during the deep dive on the financials. Will they want us to share our financial model for us now to be able, for them to be able to understand how the numbers, why we have those numbers there and stuff like that? Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
So
and Anixia, I'm back on. Oh, sorry. This is Isaac. I had to join on myself, some weird Zoom issues. So.
Okay, no worries. Alison, you can just go for that one. I know Isaac will stay with us once you step out. Yes.
Thank you. Eric, thanks for that question. I think the answer is yes, we would. I mean, we'd want to understand how you've come to your figures and how you've come to your projections. So if that's the question you're asking, the answer would be yes. I mean, not necessarily the exact model that you're using, but just to understand how you've come to your existing figures and how you've come to your projections. We need to be able to get the answers to those questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
And I can add to that, Eric. So we will have your initial submissions as part of the round 2 judging. So we would have what you submitted prior. One of the things we will be checking is, again, your understanding of what you submitted, and the numbers should foot, right? One of the issues we had, or in my prior interviewing experience, was someone has submitted numbers initially when we're doing round 2 judging, and we walked through the revenue model and that latest monthly revenue. Then we discovered that they used they reported stuff that said was in USD, but it was in their local currency. So the revenue was significantly different than what they had submitted initially during the application.
Okay, thanks, Isaac. We have another question. The first one is from Sini that asks, can we consider grants in the turnover/revenue? And then we have another question from Martina, who's asking, do we need to have a certain number of, I guess, certain amount of revenue to go to the next stage? For example, if you're doing less than €1 million annually, you're not eligible to the next stage because you do not have enough revenue. So both Isaac and Alison, you can answer that.
Can I drop in here quickly? I mean, see, I think that's actually more of a ABH answer. I may be wrong on that, but I'm not aware that grants can't be included in financials. Perhaps Michael has an answer for that, or another member of the team.
Yes. So the answer is yes, because we have not-for-profit businesses in here as well, and that counts as part of the grants or money that they have received from investors or grantors. So yeah, that counts.
And the amount of revenue, I think that's an ABH answer on that.
Yeah, no, the amount of
restrictions.
Yeah, no. So there is no specific revenue that we expect. We expect businesses to have. We don't have that as a benchmark. So I think we are looking more at trends, and growth. If, for example, the business is not making any, revenue, that means that there is no demand for your or service. So revenue is a good indicator. There is no amount that we're looking for that would indicate whether someone moves in the next stage or not. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, just echoing what Anise just mentioned. So if you guys look at previous top 10 heroes, and then you can see all different sizes of companies, right? And then you can tell, by the size of companies and also kind of industries. Yeah.
All right. Alison, do you have to jump off at 3:30?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I'm
Okay,
sorry
yeah, no
about
worries,
that.
no worries. I just want to make sure that I squeeze your time.
Thank you.
All right, so let me give Hashisha 1 minute, and then we'll continue with the questions in the chat.
Even less. Yeah, thank you so much, Alison, for your time, and thank you, ABH, for the opportunity. So I wanted to ask mainly about the type of businesses that you appreciate and you want them to be in the final 3 or 10, because it highly depends on that. We are gonna decide whether to continue or not, because some competitions are looking for hyper growth, scalable businesses. Some other competitions would look for sustainability more than anything else. Some other startups can be really starting and they're just not matching the criteria, even though they're very promising. So can you please give us your thoughts about this? Thank you so much.
Wow, that's a great question. And I think, again, ABH or Michael, someone from the team, can also have some response on that. But for me personally as a judge, apart from meeting the ABH criteria, having been in business for a certain number of years, and I mean, for me, it's very much about something that fulfills any need in your community, whether that's fintech or a health care product. That really doesn't worry me. I mean, that's not of importance to me at all. It's as long as it's fulfilling a need in the community, as long as it's putting something back into the community, as long as it's creating some jobs within your area. I just, I don't think there's a limit to the sectors that are of interest or that are relevant to this competition. Anise, I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm looking at
I think that's a fair answer. And if I say something that's different, my team can come in. But I feel the same way. I mean, when we say we are sector agnostic, we mean it. We're not secretly looking for some specific sector. So that isn't an issue. So sector isn't an issue. Stage of business isn't an issue. Some of the heroes we've had in the past had existed for 3 years, others for 15 years. So basically what we put out as this is what we're looking for in terms of criteria is what we continue to uphold, throughout the process.
Thank you.
Also want to jump in here. No, I also want to jump in here. So that's why I think we are like-minded people that really appreciate Allison, who support us for, I think it's the third year already, as a round 2 judge, and who you chose actually, who ABH would appreciate. So we're mainly looking at 3 things. One is business robustness. Second is this, the impact to the community, and third, the founder himself or herself, whether is a leader, whether is a hero. So basically, these are the only 3 things that we're looking at.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks
Thank you so
Ashish.
much. Okay, Alison, I won't ask any more questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I'm really thrilled to be part of this. Thanks, everyone. Lovely to see
Thank
people.
you, Alison.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye
good day.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you. You too.
Alison, have a good one. All right, so we still have a few questions in the chat, and I know we have Isaac. Isaac, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here, and I can. I have time, so I can take questions. And sorry, I'm not on video.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I hope you can hear us. So, let me quickly look through the chat. Someone is asking, how do you evaluate a startup on actuals and potentials in terms of its scalability and market reach? I hope that question makes sense. So if a company is still a startup, where do you put the more weight? And then there's a question on. Okay, go for it, Isaac.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, that one is no different than like if I was evaluating a startup to invest in, and like assessing whether it's impactful or not, right? So, as part of like the judging exercise, right? Like there's like set things that we have to check and put weights on, but assessing scalability, frankly, like it depends on the nature of the startup. A startup could be, I'll use Zipline as an example. Like Zipline started in like a remote area in Rwanda, and they were testing drone delivery for medicines, right, in that rich area. But their vision was always, right, like to build and test for the global markets, right? Because those challenges are global, not necessarily just in that remote area of Rwanda. And that's where we're relying on, again, the founder to tell us the vision of what they're building, right? Like, because not all the judges would be as close to the industry and the sector and the vision as the founder is. And in looking for who's in hero is someone that is not just like doing the work, but is like inspiring and can sell the vision and can tell the story compelling enough, right? To make someone believe in what they're doing, so that like they're not only like getting like the marks to move on to the next stage, but they're also selling the judge on like, well, how can I be part of like making this person's vision come to life?
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, my last question to you is from Dimeji, who's asking, in terms of a single or multi-market fit, what indicators or metrics in addition to revenue do you consider to gauge whether a startup's product or service meets a genuine customer need?
So it's a great question. So as part of the criteria for this, right, like startups should have operated for 3 years. For me personally, one of the things I look at is if you're telling me if you operated for like 4 years, you're telling me like you have a product that is like multi-market and multi-country, but you've not even accessed that in that period, then is it really like, then I'm gonna like dig deeper and say like, well, is it really multi-market and multi-product? Yeah, because at the stage of like the startup in the competitions where you're competing, like expect a level of like product market fit or some validation. And again, like the entire cohort is an impressive cohort. Obviously, we're not looking at just the length of existence of the companies, but like the impact that they've made over the period. But I see a couple of startups in the cohort that are Series A companies, and I see a couple of startups that I looked up online that have been like in business and sustainable, like in in their market for like the past 6-7 years, right? So again, it's a trajectory and the fit of the narrative to like, what exactly is going on, because it's hard to pinpoint like an exact metrics, because it's going to be apples and oranges comparing to other companies, right? It's does that narrative fit the numbers, right? Like, what's the segment revenue and the geographical mix of the revenue? If you tell me you're building for government and businesses and consumers, but all your revenue is entirely consumers and you've been in operations for 3 years, then it's like, well, what's the challenge that you're having with accessing government? Don't you just have the relationship, or maybe governments don't believe in the product, or businesses don't believe in the product, and it's truly a B2C only versus like you have a B2G opportunity, a B2B opportunity. So sorry, don't have an exact metrics for you, but tied to like financials and the realities of the operations of the company, like over the period, to support that narrative.
Okay, thank you. Before I let you go, I know Dr. Tosan has a few questions for you. Dr. Tosan, can you hear me? And would you like to go now? Okay. I don't know if he's still on the call. I mean, we lost him earlier actually, but he had shared questions. But let me ask it. Is he here? He's not? Okay.
I don't think he's here,
Stay
no.
here. Yeah. So the question he had was, how would you score a business if like the business is very strong, but the personality of the applicant is questionable? Maybe questionable is a strong word, but like if someone is, let's say, really giving it to you and, they solid, how do you do that?
So I think, personally, and I'll say personally, and then I'll say as a judge, personally, I think like the personality of a founder like is key, right? Because I want someone that would build a sustainable business, like attract other people to them, right, and lead them appropriately. So it's something I watch out for, and I think from an ABH perspective and in judging, a key part of like what we want. I mean, everyone that made it through to this stage is in hero, but ultimately the people that we want to celebrate, like the top 3, top 10, are people that are not just visionary, but are also inspiring, because it takes all of us, right? Like all of this, the entire reason for building this entire ABH community is to get as much people to buy into the vision of a greater Africa and come together to build it and partner with each other. So we're not necessarily saying like, hey, we want like one person to fix all the problems. We're saying like, hey, we have all these people like solving different things in like their own area. We want to bring them together and give them the platform and opportunity to blossom and work together and be better for the collective. So I think even from an ABH perspective, like, that would be one that would score low on my side from like an inspiring and leadership perspective.
Okay, thanks for that. I hope people have taken note that having a solid business is definitely important, and we are going for that. But who you are as a person also matters, because you are joining our community, and we want to make sure that we have people who can, give back, inspire other people, are really, excited to be here. So your personality and who you are, we don't exclude that from the numbers and everything else that you're showing us. So keep that in mind, and thanks for that answer. Dr. Tosan, I've asked the first question for you. Do you want to go for the second one? I know we are kind of running out of time, and I'm also seeing that we have a hand, which means this person really wants to ask their question out loud. So Dr. Tosan, yes.
Let Sheila go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. Sheila, do you want to go for it? What's your question? You're on mute. Sheila, you are on mute. We cannot hear you. Sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you for the privilege to be part of you, the 50 African heroes. I have some concerns first about the language. My language is Portuguese and a little bit of Spanish. And I was hearing about the finances. Myself, I'm more the field person than accountings and all these things. I'm a teacher. And my concern is most of my projects are involved donations from friends and other professionals. It's what we raise the funds to help in my country for the education project. Even though that I have my own school as the project, we have other satellite projects. We have training projects with Peru, with Spain. This has no any financial involvement. That's why when it comes about the judges, all these things, I hope that I'm making you understanding my poor English. How come the evaluation? Because I don't have a records. I don't charge anybody. I look for friends to implement inclusion education, to train the government teachers for free. I mainly work for free. This is my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
Anise,
Isaac, did you get? So there's a language question. First of all, Sheila, thank you. Obrigada. That's as much as my Portuguese can go. So there's a question about language, and I think, Michael, we've been asked the same question before. People who don't feel confident to express themselves in the language in English. And then Isaac, I think the second one was for you, which is, Sheila gets mostly, grants and donations, and there are some work that they do that they don't charge for, but their impact is very significant. So how do you deal with candidates, like her, who have great impact, but it's not translating into their, financials?
Sheila, thanks for the question. I think same with the previous one of the top 50 heroes asked the same question, because for ABH our official language is English and French. So basically we'll match English speaking applicants with English speaking judges and French speaking judges with French speaking candidates. So we understand that in Africa there will be 4 main languages, including Portuguese and Arabic. However, is develop a new language is not only to invite a translator. So we are very serious about this, and we want to try to make the experience better. So having said that, I think we can offer one the exception that you can bring a translator, if that could help you, during the interview, for translating, Portuguese to English. However, I do believe your English is quite good. Be confident, and that's that's my answer. Thanks.
Michael, just to follow up on the chat from Lotfi, he asked if they can change their pitching language from English to French.
Yes, it's possible. So we can arrange.
All right, so I'm seeing a lot of questions, and I'm going to go on the fly here with Michael. I mean, we had allocated 30 minutes to the breakout rooms, but it sounds like people really have a lot of questions, and it's important that we answer your questions.
Yep.
So we'll take a few more questions to, so that our team addresses it, and then we will limit the time that we had allocated to the breakout rooms, for you to meet and get to know each other. So that you really get out of this call what you want, which is feeling ready for the rest of the process. I think that's what we're going to do. Isaac, do you want to answer about the question that Sheila asked of impact that's not translating into financials?
Yeah, I'll answer that quickly, and I'm going to start by saying I actually understood you clearly, Sheila. So I mean, I think your English is great. So in terms of like the impact stuff, I think this is like very much understood. And we don't, again, like as a judge, right? Like I wouldn't judge like companies just based off of the size of their revenue or their profits. I mean, companies that are, or entrepreneurs that are selected in this cohort that have raised, maybe more than $50 million, right? And you have some that have not raised any external money, right? Like that would significantly impact the amount of like revenue that's coming in and out. So I think the impact piece is huge, and you should lean into that story. Separately though, as a judge, if I was judging you, then one of the advice that I would give, just as someone that has been part of a board of a non-profit, is in the end, right? Like if you want to raise money from like donors or like do other things, you should still be able to track hours and translate it into money. So like if you were people are volunteering, right, you should track the amount of hours that they're putting in. And if you were to pay them, what's the equivalent hourly wage that like a teacher that volunteered would have taken, right? Like, and you translate that into like, oh well, yes, you didn't have revenue come in because what people thought students like got the services for free, but this is the average amount like students would have gotten, and this is the average amount you have paid a teacher. So like teachers taught for 10,000 hours, for instance. If the hourly wage was like $10 an hour, that would have been $100,000 equivalent of like teacher salary over the period of the year. So you should have that, right, like in your back pocket. And this is more for as you apply for other grant programs that may require you to translate your activities into numbers so that they can either match. There are several grant opportunities that match volunteer hours and the rest of it. And so this is good for your business in general anyway. But for the purpose of ABH, like, like you don't need to be worried because again, like you can lean into your strength and narrate the actual impact that you have, which it seems like you have a lot of it.
All right, thank you, Isaac. I think we'll stop there with our questions to judges. Hashisha, was your question to a judge or a general question for ABH?
It wasn't actually a question. I see a lot of people asking about the language barrier, and I would love to just pass some help or just tell them my experience in this because I think it's a real issue for a lot of people, especially French speaking and Portuguese speaking. And I know for a fact that Portuguese speaking countries, which are 9 in Africa, cannot speak as much English. So if you give me 1 minute, I can just say my experience.
Okay, sure. 30 seconds though, not a whole minute.
I'll do my best. So I like when I went to Silicon Valley and I didn't speak a word of English, that was 2016. They told me basically try to use as much PowerPoint presentations to say the stuff that you could stop saying. This is one. And two, just take the opportunity to get the best out of your English language because it's the first language. It's the business language, unfortunately, whether you like it or not. So it's just a must, and maybe take the experience to learn it. So that's all. I'm very sorry that you feel like that because it's hard. I know.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you stepping forward and sharing your tips. It's so much ABH spirit, right? We are here to help each other. As much as we are part of one big competition. So yeah, tech tips. You are all in the same group. If you have any tips, maybe from your previous experience or competitions, and you want to pass them on, feel free to do so. Before we go into breakout rooms, Mike, I wanted to give you some more time. We've had a lot of questions come in, and we know that's what's important, for the people. So we had some hands that were raised that we had to stop because we're going to speak to the heroes, and then we have some questions that I believe are very ABH specific. So I want to give Michael 5 more minutes. If you had raised your hand when Michael was talking and you still remember and you haven't put your question in the chat, just raise it now and ask any logistics questions that you have or round to interview questions. I would just start a question here from Fumi, which is what happens to those? I think it's been answered, I believe, by Gaoyan, so I'll skip that. Let me see. Let me see. Is there a limit on fundraise? I think Gaoyan has also answered it. Okay, I might have no questions for Michael. Does anyone have any questions for Michael? Please raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm seeing that our team is answering questions as we go, which is great. Ali, please go for it.
Hello, everyone. I have a question regarding our revenue stream, considering that we offer our designs for licensing globally. I have a question regarding our revenue recognition when it comes to our licensing business. Which figures should be accounted in our revenue? Should we include the total sales generated by the licensee, or just focus on our royalty payments?
Sorry, I didn't get all the questions because I think the internet connection is not great. What you mentioned is you are a global business and then you are doing licensing, of your business. So whether the licensing fee is count as a revenue stream, is that your question?
Yeah, no, my question is we just put the revenue stream as the royalty we receive, or we put the total sales generated by the licensee?
Okay, so I think
And
so
Michael, I can take that
B2B,
one.
right? Yeah. So Isaac, do you
We
want to
take
come
like
in?
a percentage of sales. We take like 5% of sales. So we just put the 5% as a total revenue, or we put the total sales done by the licensee?
So I imagine like you're operating in like a region that's subject to IFRS, in which case you'd be reporting just the 5%, versus like bloating it up and reporting like the higher amount. Now you can still like have that higher amount just to say like, hey, like we process this much through our licenses, and our revenue based off of that is 1%, and our true revenue is this amount. But the accounting rules are, and this is because I used to be an auditor. The accounting rules, whether IFRS or US GAAP, are very strict on like what you should report as revenue, and that's what Uber, for instance, has to do in the US with their revenue from like driver distribution, so that they're actually reporting excluding payments to drivers, because you're saying they're contractors and they're employees of yours, then the money going to them should not be part of your revenue technically.
Okay, but it just gives a.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand, but it doesn't give the accurate reflection of sales of the product. If we just put the 5% we get, it gives the impression that the sales is not high. You understand?
Yeah, so you can talk about it in terms of like how much is passing through your software, like, and like what is getting to your revenue, but in reality, that high portion is not your revenue. And if a judge were to look at that and you give that higher number, then your margin looks poor, right? Because you're saying like, oh, you made $100 million of revenue, right? But then at the end of the day, only 5% of that is really coming to you because of like the fact that it's like licensing fee, and then of that 5% that's coming to you, you now still have your own expenses, right? Which might be low. But then your business margin comes to like way less than 5% versus another business that may just be a food delivery business and has a 15% margin, right? So as a judge, you would not look at only the total revenue. We look at like the sustainability of the business, like the model itself, so the unit economics. And in the financials deep dive, we actually like go through, like what you make and how you make it, like what portion comes to you, and then what portion you expense, and how it flows down all the way. So yeah, you should always report in line with accounting standards first and foremost. And then if you choose to report separately for your investor, so it shows you your full picture, I'm telling you, the judges would deep dive into your business and still peel the onions to the level of details that they want.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isaac.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to go in breakout rooms at the top of the hour for 20 minutes. Quick questions for you, Michael, from Fumi. The first question was about the one pager, like how busy can it be? Do you want them to pack everything they can on that one pager? And then there was a question about top 10, what distinguishes the 3 top winners to the rest 7? Once you answer that, we'll just go to the breakout.
Yeah, the first question is one pager. Ideally, it's simpler the better. Because it's one pager. You need to explain your business model. No matter you're doing B2C, B2G, B2B, and or above. All of the above. So you just need to explain it in the one page. So in less than 1 minute. So I think that is a challenge. But my advice is, simple. Sometimes less is more. So and to explain the idea. So and the second question, what makes the top 3 stand out of the 10? That's a very interesting question because every year that's it's like a show, right? So it's like a really challenging and exciting show, and then a lot of factors. But when you look at these top 3 every year, they share something in common. Business strong. They do a lot for the community. But most importantly, they are leaders. They show. They demonstrate. They can lead people. They can inspire people. So I think that are the 3 most important differentiation. Differentiate them from the top 10.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael. We're going to go into breakout rooms. And these 2 are our guiding questions. Feel free to go off script. We're just sharing this so that we guide you. So the first one is to give your 30-second elevator pitch that can make the rest of the group remember you. And then the second question is, what is the takeaway from today's boot camp that you would carry with you on the journey ahead? I'm actually probably sharing the 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure that I'm asking the right question. Yes, this is supposed to be the slide. Now, the second question for this particular breakout session is, having heard what you have heard from both the heroes and the judges, how close do you feel, to being prepared? I hope this is making sense because we just changed the second question. So 30-second elevator pitch, and then having heard everything you've heard so far from the heroes, the judges, a BH team, the questions we've asked, how close do you feel to being prepared? I hope that sounds good. Can I get some thumbs up? Okay, thanks so much. And then I'm gonna send you to breakout rooms now. See you in 20 minutes. Too long. Some groups were done, some groups were still talking.
Too short for us.
Nice. Oh, I like that. That's very good feedback. So that means people still want to get to know each other. So make sure that you're exchanging numbers, following each other on LinkedIn. Don't miss this opportunity to connect. I'm very glad to hear that it was a good time. We are going to go on with our program since it's already 4:20 here in Kigali. I want to check to see if Sylvia from APO is on the call with us.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Sylvia. Good having you with us.
Hi. To share my screen. Wait, let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it,
Okay.
but I can't see it in presenting mode.
Presentation form, yeah.
I think it's down, down, down. So that would be your bottom.
Now is it in presentation
bottom
form?
right.
The bottom, yeah, the bottom right.
Should be at your bottom right, Sylvia. If you go down.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. If you go down below, you see where it says notes there.
Oh.
Just keep going to your,
Sorry, I
right
couldn't
hand side.
I couldn't hear what you were saying. I'm so sorry. Yes, and you're saying?
I'm saying if you just go down to your bottom right, you see where it says notes there. Just keep going to your right there until you hit that little presentation.
Oh,
icon.
okay. Yes.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you, Anea. So he's already introduced himself. He's going to be the one taking you through the media training. I'm just here to give you like a brief overview about APO and what we do at APO. So very happy to say that APO is the leading Pan-African organization that deals with consultancy and press release distribution services. So we offer elite PR and communication services in Africa and beyond. And we have been working with Jack Ma Foundation. We have been working with Jack Ma Foundation for the last 4 years. It's actually our 5th year. It's been a very fruitful relationship. So some of the things that we do for Jack Ma as part of the press office include media news announcements. So anytime there's a new announcement, the top 10, the top 50, the announcement for the winners, we do that. We also secure and coordinate interview opportunities, not just for the Jack Ma officials, but also for the participants. So the participants will get to advance to the different levels, like top 50, top 10, top 10. We always try to give them as much publicity as possible so that they can talk about themselves and their business and generally their passion for what they do. We also do social media and social media monitoring. So this includes anything that we come across which might be of interest to Jack Ma. We always make sure that they are aware. We also do partnership engagements for ABH. So this is both for media and stakeholders. In the past, we've been fortunate enough to work with some key media publications which have also now seen us penetrate other markets that ABH was currently not very active in. Like, for example, last year we saw some increased participation in Northern Africa, which is a good thing, and we hope to do even better this year. And we also do translation of ABH press content. So once we send out the release or even on a securing interview and media opportunities, we make sure we do it across various languages, French, Arabic, Portuguese. Yeah, and we also do event support and management. So like last year for when we were doing the top 10 and the top 20 in Rwanda, Kigali. It was a very exciting period for us because we got to meet a couple of the participants and also just get opportunities for them and just interact with everyone. So what we are doing here today is actually part of what we do for the ABH competition. We have Eneafiri, our senior account manager in the media relations department at APO. He's going to be taking us through the ABCs of media training, just the do's and don'ts. Of course, it's a very vast subject, but what he's going to be doing is just highlighting the key aspects that will be beneficial to the participants and everyone generally on the call. Enea, you can tell us a bit about yourself before you get on with the presentation.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, and I'm excited to be here today. And a big congratulations to, I imagine this is one of the final levels, if not somewhere close to that. So well done to everyone that's on the call, and well done for coming this far. We've been part of this process, like Sylvia said, for maybe 3-4 years now. So it's exciting to always see new faces and see new champions as well. So well done, and thank you again to the ABH team for giving us an opportunity to be a part of this process once again. So I'll talk very briefly about media training and media relations. It's a vast topic, like Sylvia has mentioned, but I'll try and condense it. My name is Ene. I'm based in Lusaka, Zambia. I do have a background in strategic communications, and I do quite a bit of media training for various clients as part of the APO group. So with that brief introduction, I want us to just talk a little bit about grasping, thinking through the stakes. What are the stakes when it comes to media? Why, as businesses, as startups, should we be thinking about communicating via the media? And we'll talk a little bit about the risks and the benefits associated. We'll talk about the main points of attention, what sort of image we want to portray, what message do we want, and what sort of coverage. But I want to leave you with these keywords. Think about your reputation as a startup, as a business. Think about trust. Think about respectability. Think about proximity, visibility, publicity, readability, consistency, impact, efficiency, timeline, relevance, temporality, and durability. They're not just fancy words, they actually will impact your business as a startup. They will impact the prospects of your business in terms of where you go. And one key way in which we can hone our business to be synonymized with some of these words is to communicate effectively with the media. Next slide, please. Next slide, Sylvia. So what are the stakes, right? We as startups, as small businesses should be thinking of engaging and working with the media primarily to define our identity. If we don't talk about ourselves and we don't have the media talking about us, we virtually don't exist. We might have a Facebook page or a LinkedIn profile, but if somebody else is not telling your story, if somebody else is not saying to your audience that this business exists and you can access goods and services and products from this particular business, you do not exist. You do not have an identity. And more importantly, you don't have credibility, because if I'm selling goods and services online, for example, and no media house has said, hey, that business is exceptional at doing this, etc., that means I'm not creating talkability about me. The community, my target audience, my potential pool of clientele doesn't know who I am. I don't have credibility. And in that regard, I can't promote my business. I can't open new perspectives. I can't attract new investment because nobody knows about me. Nobody's talking about me. So the media is a partnership through which we get our credibility, our visibility known to a particular target audience. So it's important. It helps us to identify who we are. And more importantly, the bottom line of media engagement, the bottom line of why we work and partner with the media is to tell our story, to reach the widest audience, as much of an audience as we can. So it's a storytelling exercise. Who am I? What is my business about? How does it help me achieve what I want to achieve? It is a double-edged sword, so we have to be cautious. We need to ensure that we are telling the right story, because if our story is distorted and somebody else is saying a story that's not part of who we are, of our identity, then we are definitely telling the wrong story about us, and this can have negative impact on our business. So think about these key things as you communicate with the media. Project an image, be visible, be known, have an identity. Inform the public, right? Tell your story to your target audience. And this will lead to creation of opportunities, whether it's attracting new investment or new clientele, new market segments, etc. Next slide. Now, we've talked about telling the story. This is the backbone. This is the bedrock of why we engage with the media. And behind that, we need to construct a relevant message. What are we saying? And in order to tell the right story, to say the right thing, to construct a relevant message, we first of all have to understand, what is the context? Is it a TV interview? Is it a newspaper article? Is it a press release that we're sending out? And we have to adapt our message to fit the context so we can tell it correctly. The way I would speak on a TV interview is very different to the way I would respond to a press query via email or the way I would draft a press release. In doing so, we need to prioritize our arguments. What are we trying to say? Are we saying my business sells shoes and sneakers online? Or my business sells special African apparel, etc.? Being able to prioritize our argument will help us to tell the right story about what we want to achieve and ensure, remember we say it's a double-edged sword, but ensure that we are actually telling a story that defines our business. Play around with the questions. Oftentimes journalists will come to you and ask you, so tell us a little bit about your business. That gives you an opportunity to shine, to break out of the shell of not being known into a space of being known and working with that journalist, with that media partner to amplify who you are. So what story do you want to tell? That should always be at the back of your mind as you construct your relevant messages. Next slide, please. Now, there is a process when we talk about constructing messaging, right? What is the context? What's the format? Through this media, who am I addressing? Who am I talking to? If your business is primarily online and you use radio, for example, I mean, you are possibly capturing a potential segment of your target audience. But I would have rather you use a podcast, for example, which is primarily transmitted online. So think about what is the format, and with this format, who am I engaging? And when you do that, then you craft the why. Why am I engaging? Who? We've already answered that. What am I saying? When is this going to come out? Is this a live interview? Is this a recorded interview? Is this an article or a blog that's going to appear on somebody's social media feed? And that answers the question, how? And then you go into the interview. Then you've prepared yourself. You've sort of told yourself what the context is going to be, what the format is, and then you tailor your messaging towards those different parameters so you have maximum impact when you engage with various media platforms. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about actually constructing the message. So we've done the conceptualization. We know what the context is. We know the format. Let's now construct the message. The first thing is picture it in your mind, visualize it, break down your ideas by visualizing them, right? What do you want to say, okay? And psychologically, and this is proven, your key messages should not be more than 3. Oftentimes, human beings switch off after the third thing. My son switches off after the first. You can't communicate to him at all. But generally, human beings will switch off after the third thing that you've said, okay? So think about visualizing your message in 3 tiers and then flag the important points. Use phrases like, what I would like you to know, or the important thing about my business, or the core service we provide. You are flagging, you're using important language there that makes a reporter, a journalist, pay attention to that particular area. It's important. Then you need to bridge. This is in an interview context. If you ask questions, rapid fire questions, etc. And sometimes journalists, if you've seen interviews, they will go off tangent and ask you questions about things that have nothing to do with your business or nothing to do with what you're providing. You want to bridge your answer back. You say, that's an interesting question, but what I would really like your viewers or your listeners to know is that my business provides such a service which is beneficial because of X and Y. Use key words. Never prepare pre-constructed sentences. Don't go into an interview preconceived. I'm going to say, what's your business? What does your business do? And you've already got sort of a line of answering that you're going to have. Oftentimes that is problematic. Repeat, repeat, repeat. But when we say repeat, it should not be retarded, right? You should find clever ways of saying the same thing from different angles, okay? So it really requires a lot of practice, but it's something that's doable with a continued period of engagement. And finally, be concise. Keep it short, keep it direct. If you have to tell a story, let it be concise. It doesn't have to be too long-winded that you lose your audience and they start to fall asleep. And I'm telling myself this as I'm giving this presentation, just in case some people are starting to doze off. Now, finally, let's look at delivering the message effectively. So you want to prepare for the relevant format. If it's a TV interview, You're not going to come onto TV looking scruffy like you just got hit by a train. You certainly want to look presentable, depending on what sort of business idea you're going to be selling. You want to organize your time. Identify your interlocutor. Your interlocutor is just the person you're going to be speaking to. Who is this journalist? From different parts of the countries that are represented on this call, your sort of local famous journalists, what sort of style they have. Are they more laid back? Are they more attacking, etc.? So know who they are, because you're going to have a conversation with a human being to tell your story. So you have to know who that person is, so that that platform that you use is important then to drive your story. And again, like I said, adapt to the different types of media and the interviews there. If it's print or online, is it face-to-face? Is it in writing? Is it over the phone? The way you structure and deliver your message depends on the format. If it's TV, is it in the studio? Is it remote? Are you going there live? You need to ask yourself all those questions and structure the delivery of your message based on the different formats, similar to if it's radio, similar to if it's other platforms, podcasts, and so on. Next slide. Remember, delivering your message requires understanding the setting. Where are we? Online, in studio, the timing. Your messaging should come out. Remember the 3 key points. Do not go beyond that. And who you're talking to. Who's your interlocutor? Who is the interviewer? Once you master these and you muse them carefully, it's easy for you to then deliver your message effectively. And the bottom line is to tell your story so they can know what you're about. Who are you as an individual behind this business? Because people buy from people, right? But beyond that, what is the story of your business? What are you trying to sell? And why should I buy it? As a customer listening to your interview on my radio in the car driving back home after a long day. Next slide. So here are a few tips I'd like to leave you with in terms of delivering your message effectively. So each interview, remember, is an opportunity to learn and perfect your skills. So it's a game of perfection. Train yourself. My MBA lecturer used to say, better to sweat in training than to bleed in war, right? So train yourself, figure out and focus what areas you need to improve on. Get together and understand, how can I deliver my message better? Read yourself, watch yourself, record yourself, go back to it and say, what could I do? I've done better, etc. So knowing your strengths and your weaknesses empowers you for the next interview so you can do it better. Next slide. And to sum up, again, we engage with the media to tell our story of who we are, what our businesses provide, and why they're important to our community. But we must be prepared. What are the objectives? Why are you going to the media? Who are you talking to? Who is the target audience? What is the message? Keep it simple. What are your top 3 issues? What do you anticipate? Is there a bigger story here? Oftentimes reporters might ask you curveballs. They might throw curveballs at you because there's a bigger story behind. You need to be prepared. Practice. Take time to rehearse. Think about what you want to say. Go back on it. Try and improve, record yourself, see where you could do better. So go off and conquer, do your homework. What is your subject? What is your story? What's the publication? Who's the reporter? And then go and tell your story as effectively as possible. What are your key messages? Be cautious about how you deliver them, because you could be talking to your next potential client or customer or even investor. That's all the time we have today, folks. I'm not sure if we've got a moment for questions, but thanks again, ABH team, for giving us the opportunity to present this.
Thank you so much, Anea. Thank you. I'm seeing some clapping from the team. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Do we have any burning question on this media training? Are you finding it helpful? Because we'll be announcing, the news. The cat is out of the bag, and I'm sure people have already started reaching out. Do you have any questions to Enea before we move forward? Have time for 1 or 2 questions. Okay, just a lot of thank yous. Thank you. Okay, very good. It sounds like that has landed. Maybe just the slides. So any people are asking if they can have access to the slides.
Absolutely. I think Sylvia will manage that in my behalf, but happy to share those. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. So no other requests. All right. So it's 4:40. We have 20 minutes left in our call. So we're going to go into our last breakout rooms. We make them short so that we may come back in time to finish our call. We will make them, let me see, make them 10 minutes. I hope that's sufficient. And then we'll come back to conclude the call. How does that sound? Are you ready for the last? How are people feeling, by the way? I'm seeing the energy that we started with in the beginning is dwindling. We're almost done. Martina, do you have a question? Is that a question? Is that a hand? Okay, please go for it.
Question. I have a question, which is who is the best entrepreneur you know that is really good at media? Like for example, they always told me to check out the founder of NVIDIA, or we explain his company. And do you have a guy where like masterclass who can see and get inspired based on your experience and on you see on the market?
It's an excellent question. And at the risk of tooting our own horn, I would actually invite you to look at our chairman and founder, Nicola Pompeng-Munoz. He's an entrepreneur who has done exceptionally well from a business perspective and is doing media exceptionally well. So that's one person I could certainly, he is a key influencer on LinkedIn. I would type his name. It's a nightmare of a name to pronounce, to be quite honest, but I'll type it into the chat for you and you can be able to have a look. So yeah, and he's also a judge. He's been a judge in the past for ABH. So look at Nicola.
Thank you.
Okay, Christina, do you want to come in very quickly?
Yes, so I've been thinking about the interview and the requirements and the fact that we cannot have other team members on the call, knowing that we are going to be asked financial questions and I am in charge of operations. Is it possible to then have frequently asked questions to the judges so that we prepare ourselves ahead of time and we don't end up wasting the judges' time because we're not able to answer some questions well, because I'm not an expert, I'm not a CFO, but if it's possible, we could also let the CFO join to help with the financials.
Right. So let me jump in this question. I know there's a lot of of you that ask the same question. The answer is no. Because interview is only for the applicants, and we had experience. Christina, we had experience that I don't know. We make it clear. We say we're interviewing the founder or the applicant as a founder. So they actually, the CFO or financial controller sit in the interview. We didn't know that, right? But during an interview, and then when we ask the financial question, and then the founder stop, and then mute it, and hear what CFO has to say, and that's super weird. You know what I mean? You can imagine. It's only 1.5 hours and 3 judges. It's only that many questions to be asked, and then you pause for like half a minute, and then you answer one question. It's not working. It's not going to work. So it is a test for the founder, how much you know about your business, how much you know about your numbers. So this is a test for you, basically, to all of you. So take it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. We are headed to breakout rooms for the next 10 minutes. And the prompt is the same because we've joined.
I think Richmond raised his hand, the second time. So we should allow him to ask the question. Yeah.
Hi, Richmond.
Thank you so much. Hi, Michael. Thank you very much. I have a question. So my question is, ABH, does ABH recognize founding groups, like founding teams versus just one specific executive in the team? For example, I applied on behalf of my company, but I have a co-founder who's also equal founder of the business. And in previous groups like this, like we went to Y Combinator, we've done a bunch of stuff together. We typically do it together. So I'm wondering, is that something that happens with ABH, or you just select one person in the team and that's who the hero is?
Very good question, Richmond. Actually, we recognize founding team. Actually, we if you look at also our previous videos, our grand finale videos, you can tell, all the judges, they will see founders with a founding team is actually, I wouldn't say it's healthier for the business, but is actually, people come from different perspective, right? And different skill set, different professionals. So
Yeah.
actually it's better for the company, right? But from a competition and running a competition point of view, from a practical point of view, we can only recognize one person. So that is the there's a practical reason for that. So of course, after 5 years, after 10 years, if you ask me to, or the team to review whether we should, have a prize, for the team, this is something that we could consider, but not for now.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you very much. I think you should consider it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Michael. See you all in 10 minutes. I'm sending everybody in breakout rooms. So the prompt is another 30-second elevator pitch. And then what did you take out from today, from the media training, but also from everything that was discussed that you'll take forward in your journey? Yeah, so another introduction, and then, one thing you're taking away from today's bootcamp that will help you in the, in the upcoming journey. And then off you go. How was that? Does anyone want to give a quick shout of how it was? I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. I hope that doesn't mean that let's get to the point. I'm done speaking. No? Yeah.
Oh, we don't have enough time.
Yeah, 10 minutes is not enough time. Okay, that's good. Yeah, we thought by 2 hours, 15 minutes, everybody will be ready to go home, but people still want to talk. So that's good. It's a good sign that it's been, a very engaging session. I hope you grabbed each other's contacts and that you're going to stay in touch. I would like to give some of my colleagues some time to share with us the various opportunities that we have at ABH so that you don't miss any of that. But before we do that, there was a question, and I think Ben will be best positioned to answer it. Ben, do you want to come in for 1 minute and share with everyone how they can access their previous, application, if that is a possibility? Do you want to speak to that? I had a question in my group about that.
Yeah, sure, because I also shared this with my group. Actually, because we already let you to download the applications you have submitted. So how to log into the system is actually very easy. You just go back to the ABH website and click the login button and fill in your credentials. Then go to the dashboard. So you can see there's a download my application buttons here, and you can click it and go to the applications. You can have a look on what you have filled in during the course application period. My suggestion is to try to read your applications before the interview, because I think some of you may have already forgot what you have filled in during the application. So my suggestion is try to go over it before the interviews. And of course, if you could also have a look on the feedback from the judges, because if the round one judges have give you some feedback, it will be shown on this page, on the dashboard page. So it will be very useful for your round two interviews. That's my suggestion. And back to you, NSA.
Thank you so much, Ben. I hope that was useful for people. You see that you can easily access your application if you want to review it before the time. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome my colleagues Tahira, Ian, and Phoebe. You each get 2 minutes because it's 2 minutes past the time to share with us the many opportunities that we have at ABH. 1 second while I bring your slides up. Okay.
Thank you, Anizu. I'll be super fast because I know everyone is, I'm sure, eagerly ready to go start preparing for their interview. But I just wanted to give you a quick overview of some of the community opportunities that we have here at ABH. So the one big one that we have is the Scale Up program, where we invite our previous heroes to do a 20-minute keynote each, 2 of them per session on a pressing entrepreneurial topic that's relevant, and to share their information with their fellow entrepreneurs. So the one we have 5 videos up on our YouTube channel already. I can share a link on the team group so you can go learn from them. And our next one is coming up on the first week of August. This is also an opportunity if you'd like to connect with fellow entrepreneurs and share your knowledge. You can let me know if you'd like to be a speaker at one of these sessions. Some of the previous topics have included fundraising, expansion, building company culture, and it's really insightful to learn from other entrepreneurs who are going through the motions and what they've learned. Then we also have a community newsletter that goes out every month. We have over 7,000 subscribers on LinkedIn in just 2 months, and it also goes out to our over 130,000 community members in our database. So the next one you can expect on Thursday. But again, if you have any updates you'd like us to share or include, you can let me know. And that's another platform that you have to reach our community. Then we have local connect leads across the continent. So I've just put a picture here. They're going to be organizing little pop-up events in their countries to sort of connect the community. We've got Chibuzo, one of our 2019 top 10 in Lagos. We've got Amadou, one of our 2022 top 10 in Ethiopia. Mampo is one of our 2021 top 20 down in South Africa. And then Khadija is up in Egypt as our 2021 winner. So you'll definitely hear from them if you're in those communities. The plan is to engage with our local heroes more. You'll get to meet your other entrepreneurs at some of the events they have and just get to know each other better. And then the big one is, even if you don't make the top 10, you are still invited to our summit and grand finale in Kigali on the 23rd and 24th of November. This is going to be the same time as the finale, so that will be on the 24th, but the 23rd is actually a summit and a showcase where we're bringing entrepreneurs and ecosystem players from across the continent together in Rwanda. It's going to be a fun event. We're going to have a beautiful showcase. You'll get to meet your fellow entrepreneurs. You'll get to learn about your businesses, and it's going to be an incredible session. So definitely mark it in your calendars, and we hope you'll join us regardless of if you'll be pitching on the 24th or not. But best of luck to all of you competing for that money. So yeah, I hope I didn't speak too fast, but that's in a high-level community opportunities. I am on the group. You can send me a message if there's more that you want to do. And I'm also going to send a little survey to understand your needs better so we can continue adding to this offering for you and engage you more with your fellow heroes now that you are officially part of our community. Thank you, Anize.
Thanks, Tahira. That was good. I hope you are even more excited to, be part of this community. So let's go to Phoebe. Do you want to go for it? 2 minutes as well.
Yes. So as you are aware, this is our 5th year and we're doing a 5th year anniversary campaign. And you being our 5th year cohort, I'm excited to introduce you to our campaign. So this is like fast, we're still developing it. So this is like you're part of the developing of the campaign. So we have used the knowledge that we have gathered from every applicant or everyone in our community, and we are using innovation, insights, and impact to explore African intelligence and African entrepreneurship. Basically, we have realized that to be an African entrepreneur, you have to use these 3 things, and also we are playing on the AI concepts and calling it African intelligence. So here are some of the messages where we say Africa's business heroes is African intelligence, and this is our theme, African intelligence, and our tagline, our slogan this year is our time. So as you know, over the years, we said with it's African time, and then it's time, and now it's our time. And we are the African intelligence. And so the messages continue. African entrepreneurship is intelligence, insight, inspiration, impact, initiative, ingenuity, innovation, imagination. Please add any eyes in the comments on the group that you feel like represent you. Earlier I had someone say invention, so we're going to put that in. But the 3 topics that we're really working with are innovation, insight, and impact. So a lot of the storytelling will be around how the entrepreneurs that are part of our community have innovated around the challenges in their communities, what insights they have used to innovate, and also what insights they've generated along the way, and also the impact that their work is having and continues to have. And everything will say it is our time, because it is.
Great, I love that. It is our time. That is my takeaway. Let's go to Gaoyan. Gaoyan, are you ready?
Yeah. So for ABH marketing, actually would love to hear from your as Phoebe mentioned, innovation, insights, impacts. I'm sure that all of the business have like those three elements. So I'm encouraging all of you to share the top 50 announcement news on your social media account and tag us ABH and joining our hashtag ABH 2023 and it's time. And the second thing is I'm trying to look for some footage of your companies. You are welcome to upload anything that you have to any platform that you feel comfortable with by the end of next month, and share with me that the footage. It will be a good chance to exposure your company, as we are going to make a lot of like promotion videos in the following month. Yeah.
Thanks, Gaoyan.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, and this is where you can follow us, I believe. Yeah?
Yes, exactly, yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Ariane. That was very good. Yes, so we are also here to help spread your story. So tag us in things that you want us to retweet and repost and upload for you, and use our hashtag. I mean, you've made it to top 50. It's a big deal. And we are, ready to shout with you about this good news. I think that's it. I'd like to, welcome Michael to close for us. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for today. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for your questions. We hope that we've met your expectations that you shared in the beginning. You wanted to really feel ready and prepared for the round 2 interviews that are coming up on Thursday. We hope that you feel readier than you were in the beginning of the call. We also, we got some media training as well, and I hope that you feel prepared to share this opportunity in a way that your business can leverage. And I hope that you've also, gotten to meet each other while we're still on the call. If there's someone you want to grab, if there's someone you want to stay in touch with, I mean, you are still in the same group, so people are not going anywhere. But I hope you've been able to, learn about each other a bit more. If you want to, buddy up to prepare, there is that option as well. So do what you need to do so that you prepare and feel ready, and reach out to us if you have any questions. We have that WhatsApp group to, to answer any lingering questions that you might have. There is no big question, there is no small question. We'll do our best to answer everything that is there to be answered. And then on that note, I'd like to welcome Michael to, close for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Anise. Can you hear me? Hope my mic is still working.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, it is.
All right. Yeah, I just want to thanks for your time. I mean, 3 hours, and then you guys more than 3 hours stay with us, and I know you guys are very busy people, right? So, and thank you so much for bearing with us. We try to run this, beneficial, for all of you. And also I want to thanks for the team. I thanks Anise for putting this together, and thanks every team member to prepare, because we last 2 weeks we were really hectic on selecting, pushing the round one, and then selecting the top 50, and put together the group, and and also notifying you for the next steps. So it's a lot of work, for such a small team, but the team make it happen, so smoothly. So for the next 2 weeks will be the round two interviews. I think this is in a process. Some of you already experienced. Some of you, is the first time. So anyhow, enjoy the process, and also I think the most important is, no matter what role you are, if you are the finalist, or you are the facilitator, or you're the judge, there's a lot, to learn from each others. Be humble, and also, try to get most out of it. And that's why we build this platform, why we build this ABH platform. So please, engage actively, and try to get most out of this platform. That's what we are here for. But thank you for your time. Thanks for the team.
Thank you, Michael. We are done. All the best, everyone. We already believe in you. You're on top 50. Just do your part, prepare, and we'll be sharing all the interview times. So check your email. If in the next 48 hours you still don't know when you will interview, do use the groups, to contact us so that you're not missing any information. We are using email, WhatsApp, calling those we can. So we're doing our part to communicate. So if you feel like there is an information you're missing, reach out to our team. Sabrina has been doing an amazing job of reaching out to all of you. So do use us so that the rest of the journey is smooth. But I just wish you the best. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Au revoir. Au revoir.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, Mike.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Thank you. Bye.
Good one.